let's talk about what your training is worth. Now, this comes up, guys, because, as I've been posting on YouTube and I've been posting a lot of jiu-jitsu content, obviously because I am a black belt in Brazilian Jiu-jitsu, I own a Brazilian Jiu-jitsu school. So obviously I'm posting a lot of videos regarding BJJ. With that said, man, some of the comments are disheartening, to say the least. There are things that are said that I just think that people don't fully understand what their training could be if they really got into it the right way. Now, who am I to say what's the right way, what's the wrong way? But I just wanted to touch on a few specific comments that were made repeatedly, actually, and see if I can shed some light on what you may be missing out on if you don't truly understand the value of the jiu-jitsu training that you're ultimately kind of scoffing at with these types of comments. The first thing that seems to come up a lot is money. And I understand that, things are expensive. And if you want to do things, things cost money. But I was kind of just surprised how often that comment would come up in a lot of the videos I post, as far as almost to downright hatred of jiu-jitsu regarding the cost of training jiu-jitsu. And I think there's a lack of understanding from those people as to what it costs to offer jiu-jitsu. What you are not understanding is probably the value. It is not a bargain thing, nor should it be. You should not be looking for a bargain if you're looking for valuable jiu-jitsu. You are paying for the knowledge of those instructors. You are paying for their experience, for their guidance, for their mentorship, and mainly for their knowledge. Behind that comes the school and the community. Now, the school is probably the most expensive thing, and I think a lot of people don't consider that. Remember that the professor who opened the school, he is the one that had to go get business loans, that has to pay for the insurance. He has to pay the lease. He has to pay for the equipment in the gym. He has to pay other professors or coaches. He has to pay a front desk person. He has to pay the utility bills. He has to pay the water. There are a lot of expenses that go into owning and operating a school. Within the walls of that investment is your community. That community is built on the culture that comes from the professor and his coaching staff. And by extension, if there are any employees, again, however the gym is run, whatever that culture is, that breeds the community that lives within those walls that, again, have been paid for by the professor or the owner. So guys, on the back end that you may not have considered, there are bills due every month, just like everyone else. It is the cost of doing business. And then there's repeated reinvestment into the school and, again, the community. There's retention. There's a lot of things that I think people just don't consider as when they look at these schools or the cost. They don't understand that that is a business that this person is trying to run so that they can provide this martial arts training to you. Ultimately, some of the comments I see, it's just sticker shock and it's just a dismissive behavior towards the cost. It's like, without even knowing what it's really worth, what it could be worth to them, they just look at the price and say, it's just not worth that price. And so you never quite invest in it, so you don't understand what the investment can mean for you. And I don't know if all that makes sense. I hope it does. Because I remember when I first started, and I was kind of shocked at how expensive it was. But then I started shopping around, and I started to understand that martial arts training in general, it does not matter what it is. If it's taekwondo, if it's karate, if it's kung fu, if it's boxing, that stuff's expensive. Because again, these are businesses that have bills and other things and employees and all these things that they have to cover. And of course, on top of that, they are trying to make a profit so they can live as well. And so guys, when you're talking, when you're like sitting there and you're kind of complaining about the prices, I just think you need to have a deeper perspective of where that money is going. It's not like your professor's driving around in like a G-Wagon. And if he is, then he's very successful and kudos to him. But me being a school owner myself, I'm telling you right now, I had to give up a lot. I had to give up a very good career, and I make a third of what I used to make when I had my salary. But that is my choice because I want to provide a place for people to train and learn martial arts. So I made those sacrifices to be sure that I could have these doors open. My school has become increasingly successful over the years, but I continue to reinvest in my school and my community. So I'm never quite reaching that like ball-in kind of status. So when I hear people complain about the prices, it's again, disheartening and concerning, but sometimes it gets upsetting. And that's just, I have to always remember that's just a lack of understanding from the person coming in, as far as they don't understand, again, the overall value of what they're going to get for their monthly fees. That phone in your hand that you're using to make those comments is a very expensive device, but you were willing to invest in it because you wanted it for what it could provide. Just think about these things. And if you never start, then you never understand the value. Now, on the flip side, if you have someone who's been training for a while and they feel they are not getting the value for what they are paying, that is a different conversation. That goes to the school and the community and the professors as to what is being provided, because this person who is paying their fees does not feel that they're getting the value for what they pay. In that situation, it may be time to shop around. So again, just take those things into consideration before you dismiss jiu-jitsu training purely based on the cost of it. Now, the next thing I want to talk about when we talk about the value of your training or what your training is worth, let's talk about the whole must be nice thing, because that's a lot of comments that I get as well. And I got to say, that kind of rubs me sometimes. People go into the comments, and as they're looking at videos and they're judging some of the people on my videos, and they're saying stuff is like, must be nice. Must be nice to be young with no responsibilities and no family and no mortgage and no career, that you could train 5 days a week. Guess what? I'd imagine that it is nice for that person to be in that situation. But the bottom line is, you own the situation that you are in. You own the balance of your life, and you're responsible for balancing that. No one else is. If you have children, if you have a career, if you can only train 1 day a week, that is your journey. If you can train, if you could squeeze another day in, awesome. But don't compare yourself to someone who doesn't live the same life as you and say, it's not fair. Maybe they see you and they wish they had a family and children and the mortgage and the career you have. And they don't have those things, so they pour themselves into their training. We don't ever quite know the situations of our teammates and all that stuff, the people around us. So don't be judgmental, and just do what you can where you are with what you have. But acting as though you can't train at all because of the responsibilities you have, that's a farce. And that is on you for lying to yourself first. And lying to yourself is still lying. I have a family. I have children. I had a career. I was very busy when I started jiu-jitsu. And I did only start by going a couple days a week. And then I fell in love, and I made sure that I was able to balance my life and work things out with my wife and my children and balance my responsibilities and get the training that I wanted. And I had to make people understand how important this stuff was to me and my overall betterment. But that was my choice, and I chose to balance things that way. These are the things you're going to have to work out with yourself and the people you are responsible for. But don't put that on anyone else. It comes down to you and what you have to do to get the things you want while providing for the people you love and yourself. So let's stop with the it must be nice stuff, okay? If you want to get the time, sort things out and find a way to make the time. And if you can't make more time, work with the time you have. So this last part is something that's come up in quite a few videos in the comments, and it's something that I've had to give advice on. And it's like the key to success. It's what I truly view as the key to a successful journey in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu or martial arts as a whole. Doesn't matter what you do. If there is an instructor and a student, I believe this is the key to success. And I wanted to talk about it because I get a lot of complaints or comments where people are kind of bad-mouthing their school, number one, and then their professors, making comments about not ranking and how rankings don't matter, and jiu-jitsu is just complete BS because it's all about favoritism and ass-kissing and politics, and that breaks my heart a little bit because that's not how I view it. Now, have I seen those things? Absolutely, and I can give you some examples. But I don't run my school that way, and I truly believe that most schools are not run that way. I think that sometimes what this is just perspective without knowing the other side. You don't have a full picture, so you make assumptions, and when we make assumptions, then it's easy to blame others because again, we don't have the answers on the other side. We don't understand what's happening on the other side, so we fill in the gaps by saying, I'm not being promoted, or I'm not learning as fast, or I'm not learning as well because there's so much ass kissing, or I'm not one of the favorites, or my professor doesn't pay attention to me. He only cares about the higher ranks, and so on and so forth. Now let's talk about the first point, is that is it really your professor and your school, or is it you? Have you not accepted your learning curve? Have you not humbled yourself yet? Have you not taken into account your abilities and your time put in comparison to the other people that may seem to be getting favoritism, but it's just that they are training more than you, or they just show a better aptitude? I mean, there could be a myriad of reasons, but have you considered those things before you start bad-mouthing your professor and your school and your teammates? So let's talk about the other side, because it may not be you. Like I said, I'm going to give you examples. I have seen these things before. So I have seen professors who don't do the best job of cultivating a strong learning environment. I have seen favoritism. I have seen instructors treat pockets of people differently. I have seen instructors gossip about students behind their back, create animosity between students. I've seen all of it. I've seen the politics of instructors and the higher structure of schools that are bigger and have chains and so on and so forth. So guys, I've seen the politics of it all. So I've seen all the negative stuff that is being brought up. So I know it does exist. So then you have to ask yourself, like, are you truly a victim of those things? Or are you playing a victim because you are not communicating with your professor or your instructors? The only way to know for sure which side you land on, where you are not getting what you deserve and what you should be getting to truly embrace and enjoy your jiu-jitsu journey, your martial arts journey, you are not getting that because of these ugly things that are happening. Or is it you, due to a lack of insight in the mind of your instructors or your professor or your community as a whole, you are basically making excuses for your own lack of learning or assertiveness or humility or any of these other things. I could throw 20 words out right now, but is it really your fault for not taking a deeper look at yourself and what might be missing there? So you're just going to make excuses. Now, I'm going to say that most of the people who put these comments in, I can only assume that they haven't done this key thing. Like I said, communicate. Because if you were communicating with your professor and your instructor, I doubt that you would be going online behind their back and bad-mouthing them and their school and your teammates. I would imagine you would have it worked out, or you would understand why you are where you are instead of saying you are there because you have a bad instructor who does this and does that and all these other things. Now, if you are in that situation where you have a bad instructor, a bad community, and it's all these horrible things, and that's why you are online venting about it, well then be an adult and go find a different school. Obviously, those things do exist for you. It is not a good learning environment, and if you love jiu-jitsu and martial arts and you want to continue, you need to find a better environment for yourself. That school, that instructor, they don't deserve you. But if you have not communicated with your professor or the instructors, then that's not fair. You haven't given them a chance to explain to you why you haven't gotten your stripe yet, what is missing from your game, what you need to improve on. And so you're just left in a corner making assumptions. Speak to your professor, speak to your instructors, get a deeper understanding, seek guidance. If you're just hoping it's going to come to you by just showing up and doing your drills with your partner on the mat, and that your professor is just going to come over and do, in smaller schools like mine, I make certain that I have the time for that, but I don't have a mat with 40 to 50 people on it during a class. So I understand, but I was part of schools like that, and I've done seminars like where that's the size, and I understand when I can't get to everyone on the mat. So I've made it clear to my team, and anyone who trains with me that you have to communicate with me. The key to any good relationship is communication. And I'm happy to have those conversations. I've had students ask me where they stand with the stripe and why did this person get a stripe? And I explain to them what I need to see or what's going on in their journey. And I explain to them when they shouldn't be comparing themselves. And then when there is a comparison, like I try to communicate as clearly as possible, but I ask my students regularly, please communicate with me. Please be fair to me so I can be fair to you. If you are not giving me an opportunity to explain things, then again, you are left with your assumptions. And you can shape me and the school and whatever, however you want. But you have not gotten my insight. So you really need to give your professor and your instructors a chance to do that, to enlighten you. But if you have done that, and it's, again, you're not getting the answers, hey man, listen, I'm not ignorant. There are bad instructors. There are bad professors. There are bad people. You need to have those conversations with these people to understand if they are good for you or bad. If they aren't fitting what you feel you need to grow your jiu-jitsu, to grow yourself, really, then go find somewhere else. But again, all of that is not possible without communication. So if you have not had a conversation with your professor or the instructors, and you're going around bad-mouthing them online or otherwise, or complaining to your teammates or even your family members, you're kind of the problem. I mean, it's not even about communication. If there is a problem that you're seeing and it's not about asking a question, you need to communicate. You need to bring that problem forth so that the professor knows there's a problem that he needs to fix. If he is unaware of the problem, he assumes everyone is happy and everyone is doing a great job and everyone is enjoying their training. I've been ignorant like that before. I've thought everything was fine, and then I find out later, because of gossip and other people talking to each other, that things were not fine, and I had to go and reverse engineer all the issues and make sure that I addressed them so that my people had a strong and safe community to train in. And again, I stress to my students, they need to continue to communicate with me with any issues they have, questions, issues, concerns, so I can make sure that I'm addressing things, keeping everyone as happy as possible. You can't keep everyone happy, but you do the best you can for your ecosystem on your mats. And so be fair to your instructors and to your school and make sure you're giving them a chance to do that. If they still fail you after that, again, I'm a broken record at this part. You know what you got to do. So guys, I don't know if you'd consider that a rant, but I just needed to get this off my chest because these comments were getting kind of nasty. And let me be clear, out of the thousands and honestly hundreds of thousands of views on some of these videos, they are a very small voice. Most of the comments are very positive and everyone's excited to be on their journey and they love their training, they love their school and their instructors. So I'm so happy to see that because I love the growth of jiu-jitsu, but it's still a voice out there. And I wanted to provide some answers to those concerns. I'm pretty good at responding to comments. So I've given advice and so forth as best I can when I see those comments, but I hope this video can help a little more. So guys, lastly, I'm not ever trying to bash anyone, but sometimes hard truths have to kind of just be laid out and you can take it for what it is. If you agree with me, awesome. If you don't, I'm not trying to ruffle any feathers. I'm trying to provide some insight from the other side. So I hope this video was enlightening or helpful, insightful, whatever. Okay. I just hope you really gain something from it. And thank you for listening to me. We'd love your support, so please be sure to like and subscribe, and I will see you guys in the next video.